You can literally find stuff. Not until you catch 10 Bidoofs to cross the bridge. You're not allowed to cross the bridge until you catch 10. To kick stream off, we are going to do a tier list of all of the Pokemon games. We're going to rank them based on 3 things. Those 3 things I have written down so I don't forget them. They are game design. So we'll talk about the overworld as well as the Pokemon themselves that were introduced. We'll talk about the playability of it and how fun they were. That's bullet point number 2. You know, how much fun was it to actually go through the experience of the game? And the final thing we're going to rank it based on is the impact on the franchise as a whole. So while some older games, for example, might not be as replayable now because obviously we change our interests in what we consider a quality game based on the evolution of games, you know, it might not be replayable. However, some of these games were super duper important foundationally for the series, so it's hard to rank them as, you know, bad when they were so important, you know? So anyways, without further ado, let's dive into a tier list of the best Pokemon games the Pokemon franchise has ever released. Here's our full screen, and you see we got all the games down here. Now, I am going to go through real quick and knock out the games that I have not played. It's the first thing I'm going to do. I have not played Coliseum and I have not played XD. I should. I'm a bad person for this. I'm a lesser person. I don't deserve like any empathy for that. Like, this is my fault and I need to get on it. Okay, I take responsibility for my actions. The first game in the series, Pokemon Yellow, I think, or was Yellow second to Red and Blue? We'll do Red and Blue first. So Red and Blue is interesting. The game design itself is obviously not great because the game came out in 1733. So because of that, they didn't have the technology to make the games as beautiful as they are today. That said, they're good for what they were. They were some of the best-selling games of the time, and they're still the best-selling games in the entire franchise's history. There's a lot of value that comes out of these games in terms of like the game design's evolution. Like, I think that because of the way this game was, like, that's the reason that the game was able to evolve the way that it was. Let's dive into playability and how much fun it is to play it. I mean, they're super, I don't want to play them, but you guys could, I guess. They're fine. They're fine. People replayed them when they first came out. I don't think they're replayable now. I think that this isn't like, I think that the scale has just moved. I think that the games got better, and that is why this ranking is not going to be as high as maybe some of the other games in the series. That said, the impact of Red, Blue, and Yellow is also going to go in this tier list, is obviously unimpeachable. I mean, you can't say enough things about the job that Red, Blue, and Yellow have done for the franchise. Without the foundation, nothing else exists. So I'm going to put this in good, but no thanks. I think that that's where it sits. I might put Yellow in replayable only because it's the only mainline game, I guess, outside of Let's Go, where I get to use Pikachu as a starter, and then I get all of the other starters as well, which I think is really cool. Outside of that, though, I mean, this is where these games belong to me, and even this is giving I'm giving them a lot of credit for starting the franchise that I love. They're not fun to play through, but that's just me. All right, game number 2, HeartGold and SoulSilver. The design. There are 1,000,001 ailments and reasons why this game is not great. Okay, this game had so many design problems, from the level curve of wild Pokemon not allowing you to level your Pokemon up in an adequate time frame, to the fact that Johto Pokemon were not included in the gameplay. Like, that's crazy. You couldn't access half of the new Pokedex until like after you beat the Elite Four. I just think that it was a weird game design, and it's long as heck. To get through the entire game, it takes forever, and I'm stuck in 2D black and white graphics land. I guess it's not black and white. There's technically some color in there. I really don't like it. We'll talk about the remakes in a little bit. I am such a staunch silver and gold hater. I will say, you know, we just talked about the design, talk about the playability. Like I said, it's just a little long for me. Is it fun? I guess it's cool that you can fight all 16 gyms. It's the only multi-regioned game outside of the remakes, obviously. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't think I wouldn't have needed a second region if the Johto region was good, you know? Like, you didn't have to include the second map. I will say, for what it's worth, it is the only game that tries to expand upon Pokemon without taking part of it out, right? Because by the time you get to Generation 3, they're like, all right, well, we can't keep adding regions, you know? Like, you know, did they call it Dexit? Was that what it was called when Sword and Shield removed the Pokedex, the national dex from being in the entire game or whatever? The entire dex from being in the game? Like, I thought that was kind of a bum decision. Like, I thought that sucked. So I guess from that perspective, like, including both regions is just a really cool thing to do. It's kind of a holistic Pokemon experience. Overall, I'm going to put it in good, but no thanks. I think putting it in 0 replay value really downplays, you know, the quality of game that it was. I mean, it's a good game. The impact is also really important. You know, having that second game, you know, they weren't planning on making Pokemon 2, and then they did, and it was a huge success again. And plus, because of Gold and Silver coming out, we got HeartGold and SoulSilver, and I will talk about them in a minute. Right now, we're going to dive into Generation 3. Ruby and Sapphire. Ruby and Sapphire, I like them. I think they're a lot of fun. I'm probably going to put them in replayable. The design itself, I mean, it was the first true, you know, filled in color experience that we got for the Pokemon series. It was a great mechanics update. We got double battles. That's cool. We got a lot of water. Who doesn't like water, right? We got some great Pokemon. It was the first addition to the Pokedex that didn't suck. Johto Mons, trash. These Mons, very good. We got Mudkip. That's a good point, chat. That's a good point. We did get Mudkip. Overall, I think that this was a huge step in the right direction for Pokemon to be able to recreate that immersive, you know, love that people had in Generation 1 that I don't think was there in Generation 2 because it was just a continuation of Generation 1, you know? This was its own standalone product and a huge success at that. I like the evil teams. I think they're really good. I think it was beautiful. Playability, still played today. I guess technically it's Pokemon Emerald, so I'm not going to put it in, you know, the higher tiers here, but these games are still replayed today and they set the stage for the remakes. I mean, the impact of these games is undeniable. I definitely have a place in my heart for these guys. So we'll put it in replayable and we'll move on to FireRed and LeafGreen. FireRed and LeafGreen was good. I'm tempted to put it in incredible. And it's not because I'm in love with FireRed and LeafGreen. I'm not. I thought the design was fine. I remember playing it as a kid and wishing that it was more like Pokemon Emerald, like stylistically, like just art wise. Like I always felt like FireRed and LeafGreen was a little more like, I don't know, the colors weren't as interesting. Like the characters weren't as sharp to me. I don't know what it was. It never had that same appeal, but at the same time, it did bring all of the Hoenn updates to the Kanto region. There were some things it didn't do well. I think it set the stage for a too faithful remake, right? Not allowing Golbat to evolve until post-game, or the ability to get Espeon and Umbreon until post-game. I don't think that those were great things to do. I think they should have moved on. However, I think it's cool to be able to revisit this region in updated graphics. You know, the game that everybody loved. Also, this allowed trade compatibility. This really, really, really improved the quality of trading with your friends, because you needed someone to have FireRed and LeafGreen, and you needed somebody to have one of the Hoenn games in order to actually complete the Pokedex, which I think is cool. I think that's nice. In terms of impact, the reason that this game is going to go so high for me is because of how it has impacted ROM hacking. I love my ROM hacks. I think they're far more interesting as standalone games than any of the games on here, just because of the difficulty. These games aren't meant to be super hard. FireRed and LeafGreen is an amazing, amazing tool for people to manipulate and really make beautiful projects with. So I'm going to keep FireRed and LeafGreen up here. I don't think its impact on the series as a whole is as strong, just because I think that the series would have continued just fine without FireRed and LeafGreen. We had Red and Blue, which did the whole Kanto thing, And then we had Ruby and Sapphire to establish the mechanic changes and graphic updates. But in terms of cultural influence, I think FireRed and LeafGreen are almost standalone. They're almost up there by themselves. I'm going to put Pokemon Emerald at best in the series. Pokemon Emerald combined the best qualities of Ruby and Sapphire and improved upon it. Pokemon Emerald is now still the most played of any of the games up here right now. Not the ones that haven't been ranked yet, but the ones that are on the screen right now. Pokemon Emerald is up there with the best of them. It was my first game, so maybe there's a little bias there for sure. But again, I go back to my ROM hacks. I think the cultural influence of Pokemon Emerald is so important. I think the replayability is up there with the best of them. And I just think it's a beautiful game. I think it's a great game with lots of cool stuff. I wish they'd given it a remake. I think one of the biggest oversights from the Pokemon Company in the past 20 years is not giving us whatever version of Emerald they wanted to pair with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, because I can't name a person that wouldn't have been interested from my circle, you know? People loved those games. Ruby and Sapphire, obviously they're good, and ORAS does encapsulate some of the Pokemon Emerald stuff, but I just think there was an opportunity there. Just with the name and the color scheme and everything, Pokemon Emerald holds up. All right, we're moving on to Generation 4. Oh, I forgot Crystal. How could I forget you? It's because you were forgettable. Well, you can go ahead and go above this. I guess you're more replayable in Gold and Silver. Crystal is cool. I actually don't know what differentiates the two of them. I can't remember. I've played through Crystal a bunch of times, and I've not played through Silver and Gold a bunch of times. So, but I'm like fairly certain they're pretty copy paste. All right, moving on. Generation 4, Diamond and Pearl. Diamond and Pearl is going to go in replayable. It's very tempting to put it in incredible. No, I'm going to have to put it in incredible, I think. The design of the games was pretty. I really do enjoy Generation 4. It's a generation that grows on me, like the more that I play it. And it's funny that I can play it in 2025 and still get the value out of it that I do. It really, really is a beautiful game. I think it's replayable as any of them. I think it's super fun. And I think the impact on the series is one of the most important. Guys, this is the game that gave us the physical special split. This is the game that launched us into modern Pokemon. This is where modern competitive battling really, really took place. This is when the game became global. Remember the GTS? All of a sudden we could play on the internet with friends, and it wasn't super complicated. With Pokemon Emerald, I think you had to like use like an attachment. It just came with the DS. Diamond and Pearl brought the Pokemon community together in ways we've never ever seen before. I don't think it was much of a community at all. I think it was a couple of forums on the internet before that. I remember going to Cerebi.net to look for stuff on how to beat Pokemon Emerald, but Diamond and Pearl really, really centralized an internet presence for Pokemon. Grew the game, guys. Grew the game. I know that Platinum is the better game. And I know that if you're going back and you're going to replay one of those two games, you're going to play Platinum every time. I totally agree. But you need that stepping stone there. You need Diamond and Pearl to come out for Platinum to exist. Anyways, Pokemon Platinum goes in the best in the series category. There's going to be a couple games up there. Obviously, it seems like that's a category that only needs one game up there. There's a couple games that are the best in the series, and they deserve to share that podium. Pokemon Platinum was a great game. It expanded upon all of the greatness of Diamond and Pearl. It has a better story. It has a cooler box art legendary. It's still replayed today on a regular basis. That's insane to do. Games don't do that. Games don't do that, especially games that get sequels. Games that get sequels, you don't replay the old ones, you just play the newest one. Pokemon Platinum? Hell yeah. Pokemon Platinum is still played every single day by hundreds of people, thousands of people. I can't say enough good things. And when I'm talking about my ROM hack experience, this is another game that just sits right there. It's the perfect edit. It's a great foundation for people to have fun and also balance in modern mechanics. Just recently, we got the update to Pokemon Emerald that allows us to have modern mechanics in Gen 3. But for a while, this was the first opportunity we'd had. So I really, really enjoy Pokemon Platinum. I think it belongs where it is on the list right now. And now we get to Generation 5. No, we don't. We have Pokemon's HeartGold and SoulSilver. I'm putting it in incredible. Has incredible replay value. It's a beautiful map. It's a beautiful region. It still does hold some of the same problems that we had with the original games in Generation 2. It's not perfect by any means. The level curve is still bad. We still don't get enough Johto representation in the gyms. However, Pokeathlon was sick. However, our Pokemon follows behind us as we move. That's cool. That's a cool cosmetic addition. And you can see in the bottom right of this image, we got the Pokewalker. The Pokewalker was the first like real test, in my opinion, of like a Pokemon Go concept. One of the biggest games in Pokemon's franchise. The Pokewalker allowed us to bring our characters into real life, make it feel like a real immersive, like we were really Pokemon trainers, guys. I mean, that was cool. I remember carrying mine around, trying to get my steps in. I wasn't like trying to exercise. I was like 15. So, you know, maybe for some people that was like an exercise thing. That wasn't my thing. I thought it was fun. But this is one of the coolest games in the franchise. I can't say enough good things. Again, replayed all the time. I just think Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver, HeartGold and SoulSilver, HeartGold, SoulSilver. Okay, can I use words? Maybe. I think it's up there with the best of them. All right, now we're on to Gen 5. Pokemon Black and White. Gonna put it in replayable. I do want to be clear. I didn't say this as a preface, and I'm gonna say it now. I don't think that Pokemon has ever put out a really bad game. I don't have any interest. You know, it's funny. I've got these two categories down here. I thought I'd use them, and maybe I'll drop this guy down so I can drop this guy in. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. They've never put out a bad game. I don't know. I have the category there, and maybe it's just to demonstrate that there's no bad games. There's none. So let's talk about Pokemon Black and White. Pokemon Black and White did change some mechanics of Pokemon. We got hidden abilities. We got a better online system. We continued with modern VGC stuff that debuted in Generation 4. I like Pokemon Black and White. I don't know that I can say wholeheartedly that its impact is as important or memorable as the games that came before it. I like the region a lot. It's a beautiful region. It does have replay value in that it's still fun to play today. There are some great ROM hacks that have come of it. I might be selling it a little bit short, putting it in replayable over incredible, but I think that replayable is a fair, safe place to put it. I don't go back and play that game, and there's nothing that draws me to it. All of the other games above it, there are things that draw me to them. Or in the case of Diamond and Pearl, they're just so foundational to the series that I can't ignore what they bring. But I don't feel that way about Black and White. Black and White's good. It's the region's great. I do think Black and White 2 is slightly better. I think it's a little bit better. I wonder why they decided to make Black and White 2 instead of third version alternative, because I look at their sales sometimes and I see that like stuff like this does not work. Like it just doesn't market as well. People just think they're buying the same game. Pokemon Gray, yeah, right? I think that Black and White 2. Now, I can't even put them in incredible because I'm not even going back to play that game. I do think the graphics are great. I do think that the mechanics are good. I don't find it to be as overhauling as some of the other games, so I'm not going to put it as high in terms of its importance. But I think this is the right place to put it. Most third versions bomb. That's probably true. Which third versions have bombed? Did Emerald bomb? I feel like Emerald didn't. Did Platinum? Pokemon Yellow? Those are known as the best games in the series. Yeah, I feel comfortable with where I put those two. And now I'm getting ready to rank number 6, Generation 6 here. We didn't get a Gen 5 anything, no? No. Generation 6. I like Kalos a lot. It is easy, but not as easy as people say it is. I think it's one of the most beautiful regions in the series. I think the diversity of locations is beautiful. I like the Lumio city in the center. I'm not going to put it in incredible. I thought that the way the story works kind of sucks, where it's all jam-packed into one section between the 7th and 8th gym, and it's like just there's no room for anything there. And obviously the game's just not super hard. The random trainers are typically scarier than the actual mandatory ones. Is important for the franchise. The whole 3D thing was fine. I like it. I like Pokemon X and Y. I'm going to put it there. Let's grab our remakes now. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Oh, we also got Megas. I didn't even talk about Megas. I'm going to put this game in replayable. Next to X and Y. The only thing that bums me out about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is I felt like there was so much potential and it just was squandered. They did give us a completely revamped Hoenn region, which was cool. It wasn't the same time zone, right? No, I might move this up to incredible. It's just, it should be here. It should be in best in the series. It should be, but it's not. It's not Pokemon Emerald, man. It's not. I like that they didn't do the Too Faithful remake thing that they did with FireRed and LeafGreen and more games coming up. It actually had Gen 6 compatibility, which is really cool. Could you evolve Roselia in these games? Does anybody know? Was Roserade accessible before the Elite Four? Yeah, that's sick. Anyways, Generation 7. Generation 7. I'm going to slide this into I haven't played, by the way. Generation 7, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. This is where they start for me. Game design, beautiful game. Beautiful, beautiful game. Maybe the prettiest game in the series. Playability and fun. The thing is, people really don't like the replay value of it because it's so hand-holdy in the beginning. And I get that there's a lot of cutscenes, but I think the payoff is worth it. I think the payoff's worth it. I think, yeah, it takes a minute to get through 100%, but then you get through it and you get to play this beautiful, awesome game. We got a deviation from the gyms and it didn't even suck. I thought change was supposed to suck. It didn't suck when they did it. They got the totems were cool. The totems were neat. The kahunas are whatever. The totems are sweet. The new Pokemon are great. I really enjoyed Sun and Moon. I thought the new starters were the best trio of starters since Generation 4. And before that, I think these guys might be the best starters in the series. They're in contention. They're very, very good. The only thing I really wish that we got, more Sun and Moon hacks. It's whatever. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you won't change my mind. You won't change my mind. One of the most complete Pokemon games we've ever had. Maybe the most complete Pokemon game we've ever had. Expanding upon Sun and Moon, making the games better, great mini games, access to all of the different items that you could ever want. The game's beautiful. It's the last game where we got a full Pokedex, guys. It's got the most Pokemon in it. This game has the most Pokemon in it. I mean, what am I missing? This game gets hate for two reasons. Maybe 3 reasons. 1, because it's a remake and they didn't differentiate enough between the names, and so people don't understand that they're 2 completely different games, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and Sun and Moon. 2, because it's newer, and I can speak for this community. I can't speak for everybody, but I do find that this community tends to prefer the nostalgia-based games, the games that they love, that they grew up on, and I get that. I feel that. That's why Pokemon Emerald's up there. I'm with you. But just because it's new doesn't mean it's worse. And then the 3rd reason is the dialogue, and I think that I think the payoff's worth it, man. I liked Guzma. I thought his teams were interesting. I thought the fights were interesting. I think the storyline is one of the best in the games. Alola, I think, is my favorite region of all time. I don't think there's a cooler region out there. There's some, and that's not to say that the other regions are bad. This region just takes things to another level for me. It is so colorful and different. I'm in love with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. You'll never change my mind. If they had ROM hacks for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon that were conducive to what I do as a Nuzlocke, I would be playing them every single day of the week. Yeah, also absolutely correct. The hardest games in the series. And that's what's ironic to me too, is because I'll call people out for being, nostalgia heads. And I'll say, oh, you guys like these old games because they're the old games. And that's a valid opinion, and I'm rocking with you halfway. You guys asked for hard games. We got Pokemon X and Y, and my generation of Pokemon fans was they don't care about us. All they care about is kids playing this game. If they cared about us, they'd at least make it a little challenging. They didn't give us anything. The gyms only have 3 Pokemon. What is this? And then we got this. EV trained opponents, you have to think. You have to think. You can't just button mash your way through Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because you'll get cooked. You have to figure out type matchups. That's not true for every game. That's not true for most of them. Most of them, you can just get a level 100 starter and move on. That's not true for this one. This one, if you have a level 100 Incineroar, you lose. All of the starters are slow. They all just get outsped by stuff. You have to actually think for these games. For my generation, I think that my generation needed to spend more time actually thinking about this game and what it brought to the table, because it is awesome. It is an awesome experience. I want to play through it again. I really do love this game. It is harder than all Dre hacks. I've played, I think, most of Dreyano's hacks. And this isn't to say that Dre's hacks are good or bad or whatever. It's not they are, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is harder than those hacks. Okay, we're down to the final 4 here. I have played through 3 of them and I have played 1 of them. Let's go chronological order here. I believe we got Sword and Shield first. I'm teetering here. I didn't like the Evil Team. Dynamax was fine. I didn't like the soundtrack. I did like the region. At least I like that one mushroom area. The starters were mid. The additional Pokemon were typically cool. I liked the legendaries. The Wilds was a cool idea, and I thought that it was a game that unified the community and made people feel like they could play together, shiny hunt together, battle together. This game has incredible value to it. I'm gonna put it in replayable. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I also didn't play it when it first came out. I feel if I had played it when it first came out and everybody was playing together and experiencing it together, then maybe I'd have a different opinion. It's like the most divisive game ever because of, no, that's, you know what? You're right. Screw Dexit. Dexit sucked. Dexit is so dumb. Who was I on the call with? I think it was Flygon. Flygon, I didn't know this was a big drama. I was talking with him while we were playing, I think it was Cobblemon, and he was like, uh-oh, Wacko's a Dexiter. I'd never heard that term before. I did say that this game was unifying, and I didn't mean that from the perspective of, oh, like, people finally had the same opinion. No, people have had good and bad opinions on Pokemon the entire time. You know, people have had mixed opinions on everything. But what it did do was provide a centralized space for people to interact with each other, which I thought was cool. In terms of like making online play easy. I guess it was mostly people creating online space. I feel like they did a lot of the work. But still, I thought the online play was good. Online compatibility was great. Was it improved from Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? I feel like it was because I feel like the Switch is easier to play on than the 3DS was. I think that's definitely true. Yeah, I'll put it in good, but no thanks. I'm pretty passionate about my Dexit take. Oh, we don't have enough room for the Pokemon. Figure it out! Figure it out! How much more money do I have to pay to get my favorite Pokemon in the game? $20 more a pop? I don't want to pay that, but at the same time, figure it out. Really? No thanks. These 3 games are left. I believe we got Arceus first and then BDSP. So let's go Arceus. Good, but no thanks. This is my opinion tier list. I'm not here to knock Arceus, and it's probably too low for some people who really enjoyed it. It set the stage for Scarlet and Violet, which was great, and the new mons were cool. I hated it. The problem is it's not the game. It's me. Okay. It's me. I just wanted to fight stuff and there wasn't enough stuff to fight. They wanted me to catch them all over and over and over again. Fill out an encyclopedia of Pokemon. I had to catch 10 Beedoofs. No, I don't want to catch 10 Beedoofs. I like the guy, not that much. I don't like catching him 10 times much. That's a normal person take. All right. Story was cool. The art was cool. I'm not knocking it and saying it's bad. It's in the good category, guys. I put good, but no thanks. Okay? No thanks. I just want to fight stuff. And I don't want to throw rocks at Pokemon to do damage. That's not the game. I want to use water gun. I want to use surf and do damage. I don't want to throw berries and cream at lions to try and kill. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. That we're getting away from what the point was. It was monsters fighting. So anyways, no thanks. I'm all set with Arceus. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. You should enjoy it. It was a good game for people who enjoyed it. You can literally fight stuff. Not until you catch 10 Beedoofs to cross the bridge. You're not allowed to cross the bridge until you catch 10. But then you would not like Pokemon Go. No, yeah, I don't like Pokemon Go. I recognize that it was popular and I talked about it with the Pokewalker thing because I was like, oh, the Pokewalker set the stage. All right, and that's true. Its impact was important. No thanks. Okay, BDSP. Uh-oh, where's he gonna put it? This is such a polarizing game. I remember when this one came out. Twitter was on fire. Twitter was not happy about this one. I do have strong opinions on BDSP. I played it for a while. I did a lot of shiny hunting in it. And I don't think you guys are going to like my rankings, but I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. I'm going to put it in incredible. Listen, it was a faithful remake. They told us it was going to be a faithful remake from the start. Okay, we knew that. Okay? What did they bring? They brought back some of the best vibes from Diamond and Pearl to the Switch. And that chibi art style that you guys hated so much, that's the point. It's a Pokemon game. It's supposed to be cartoons. What are we talking about? This isn't Call of Duty. I don't need updated graphics. I don't need blood pouring out of my Pokemon. I need chibi art, cute little chibi art, walking around, throwing Pokeballs, catching little Pokemon. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful game. It was so good. It was so good. And don't get me started on the Underground. What a sick addition. What a dope addition to the games. I loved them. I loved these games so much. Oh my God, the shiny sparks of using the Poke Radar and catching shiny Pokemon. The serotonin. Dude, name another time you had me and Moxie shiny hunting together. You can't. This is the only game that's ever done that. This is the only game. Why? Because it was that good. This is a beautiful game. It is what it is. I understand, and I have the same valid complaints. I'm actually gonna drop it here. I'm gonna put it in replayable. I'm not gonna put it in incredible. Because there are some sympathies that I have with you guys. Obviously, I wish that it was more compatible with the generation 8 and 9 games that we have now. So that's kind of a bummer. It is compatible with Pokemon Home, so I guess you do get access to those. But the fact that it was only up to Gen 4 is crazy. I'm not a huge fan of an overly faithful remake. I do think that they did go too far with the faithful remake. That's my big complaint. I think the art style was great. I think the overhaul of the map was great. I thought every change that they made to the game to make Diamond and Pearl better actually did make the game better. I just think when they closed it off, it might have been due to laziness. It might have been due to other reasons. I don't know. Maybe the game actually didn't have the capacity to have a Zacian? I don't know how to pronounce that Pokemon's name. I should have picked a different example. In the game, it should have had later Pokemon in it. I should have been able to fight Cynthia with Cinderace or something, but I'll put BDSP right there. I think that's the best place for it. Replayable for sure. I would play that game tomorrow if I had a reason to. And the final game, the most recent game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If we're gonna talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we have to have a holistic viewpoint on it. What was good about it? What was bad about it? Well, the good things, we got open world Pokemon for the first time. Real open world Pokemon, not, well, as real as we've got so far, and not like Legends Arceus. Even though it was open world, it wasn't the same Pokemon experience. Scarlet and Violet was the same Pokemon experience that we'd come to know and love, and it also was open world. We got a good evil team, a killer story. We got a killer story. It was so good. Maybe the best story in the franchise. I actually think that Scarlet and Violet has the best story in the franchise. We got some great new Pokemon. The starters might be my favorites of second favorites of all time. Favorites versus best, because I said Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon has the best starters. I think that's still true. I think this has some of my favorites though. I really like Skeledirge and Meowscarada. Quaquaval is also a Pokemon. I don't like the fact that they made a game that doesn't work on the Switch and then released it on the Switch. That was a weird decision to make. I don't like that I had to keep paying money to get access to parts of the game that should have been included off the jump. It's a DLC. It's you sold me a part of the game and you told me it was a full game when I bought it. I thought, oh, I'm getting the whole game. And then you said, actually, it was just part of it. So now in order to play with my friends, I got to buy more parts. It's kind of whack. And then if you actually try to play the open world experience like an open world experience, you get screwed because there's parts of the map that are just over leveled and you just get rocked. Which maybe that's the best that we can do for open world, but I just think that there's got to be a better way. Mona's great. Arvin's great. The professor's great. You didn't give me back my full Pokedex again. Compatibility with Pokemon Home obviously is helpful, but not the same. When I first got to play Scarlet and Violet, I know how it made me feel, and it made me feel like it was one of the best in the series. And if I made this tier list 6 months ago, or whenever, I guess a year ago, it's been out for a while now. If I made this game within the first 3 months of it releasing, I would drop it right here. But as time has gone on, I haven't gone back to it. I really feel like I can't because of the DLC stuff. Like if I go back, then I'm missing out, or I have to shell out another 40 bucks or whatever it is, 30 bucks. Doesn't matter. I have to shell out cash to try and play the game again. I played both Scarlet and Violet. I played through, so it's, I think for what it is, I think for me, it goes in incredible. I think that if I felt like the game was more honest, then I would put it in best in the series. But I feel like I got scuffed on the fact that the DLC exists. I feel like I got scuffed on the fact that the game doesn't run on the platform that you sold it on. If I didn't feel like I got scammed in a little bit of ways, I would put it on top. I really, really enjoyed Scarlet and Violet. I just wish we'd gotten some things right that we didn't. And with that, we have officially ranked every Pokemon game in the series. I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. I hope you guys like and subscribe.